7:09 News Radio 1029 KARN. First News, Kevin Miller, joined by Dr. Steppe Mette with UAMS. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
If I was any better, there'd be two of me.
Good one.
My wife wouldn't be happy about that. You know what I'm saying? We just go with what we got here. Hey, if you would, as we look at what's happened with COVID-19 around the state, how are things going? I mean, we've seen this continued climb. Where are things now?
Yeah, I think I can certainly speak from the UAMS perspective that we are managing quite well. We have gotten into a rhythm. We know how to take care of patients with COVID-19, and we know how to take care of patients who don't have the COVID illness at the same time. So we have gotten the expertise through experience in doing so. We have adequate supplies right now, other than testing reagents, which continues to challenge all of us.
Why is that? What's going on there?
I think it's really still the competition with other healthcare organizations around the country, because there's just an inadequate number or amount of reagents for the testing to be done in a rapid and effective manner. So that's true for both our in-house testing and the national reference laboratories as well.
Yeah, sure. It's Dr. Steppe Mette with UAMS. When you talk about the testing reagents, are we talking about the test that's more invasive, or are we talking about the quick test, or all of it?
We're talking primarily around what's called the PCR testing, which is, as you suggested, the more invasive. That's the nasal swab. That is testing for the genetic material of the virus itself. The point-of-care testing, that both the antigen and the rapid turnaround testing that can be done at the testing site, which still requires some sort of sampling of biologic material, those reagents are in more abundant supply.
With these tests, it's interesting in that if you get the test with the nasal swab, it seems to be, is it wrong to say that seems more accurate, but it takes longer to get the result, and the quicker test, maybe not as accurate, but you get the result, of course, quicker test, much faster.
Yes, I think that's a fair characterization. Even the PCR testing can be relatively rapid, maybe not the 15 minutes up to 90 minutes that many of those point-of-care testing applications have. But here at UAMS, we turn around our in-house testing within a matter of between 4 hours and 24 hours. So it can be a lot more rapid. The longer delays are happening because of the send-outs to the national reference labs.
Right. All right. It's Dr. Steppe Mette with UAMS. And that's the thing, too. If you get the test, I mean, if you are feeling ill, and that's something that is being made a point of right now, if you're feeling ill in any way, you need to go ahead and quarantine yourself before you even get the test, and don't wait on the results.
That's right. And even if you are not feeling ill, but you had exposure to somebody that you have a high degree of confidence does have COVID-19, it's a good idea to sequester yourself or quarantine yourself as well.
I try to stay away. Modeling shows cases increasing, and it has for several months in Arkansas. How big of an issue is this? Are we starting to see any kind of a plateau? Anything that you can speak of with that?
We are not seeing a plateau yet. The number of daily cases that are being reported seem to be leveling off, but not the hospitalizations that we're seeing. And the of some concern are the continued projections that the number of cases will continue to climb at least until early part of December.
Wow. All right. What about hospital capacity? That's another thing, not only at UAMS, but maybe statewide, too, if you can speak to that. As we approach flu season, I mean, there's the worry about that happening. Should there be, God forbid, some sort of a disaster, hospital capacity in that instance, too?
I think most hospitals have adequate capacity. We're all pretty full because of care of other patients other than those that have COVID-19, but we all have the capacity to surge and to prioritize the care of those that need the care the most, whether they have COVID-19 or another illness. A lot of us do worry about the convergence of influenza and COVID-19 COVID-19 later in the fall or the winter. And unless we have some flattening of the curve, we really could be with a pretty significant problem on our hand to be able to manage all those who need our care. But for right now, we're doing okay, and I think the projections are such that we should be able to weather the storm.
You know, something that surprised me, I think we were talking to, I believe it was Dr. Jennifer Dillahay with the Arkansas Department of Health last week, and she said that you could have COVID and the flu at the same time. I can't imagine. That's one drive-through order I don't think I want.
Yeah, there's certainly no reason why you couldn't have both at the same time. They're different viruses, and one might even predispose you to the other if you're particularly ill or you're exposed to another individual or be in an environment where both viruses are rampant. We don't yet know whether if you have both at the same time you will be more ill than if you had only one, but I think common sense suggests that might be the case.
It's interesting. Where are we on the whole idea of vaccines? Now, Dr. Fauci has talked about even if there is a vaccine, it may not be 100%. It may be, kind of like the flu vaccine. It may cover a certain part of it, and that's what I would kind of expect. However, on the other side of the world, Russia says, hey, we got something that works over here. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation. What do we know about the vaccine front right now?
Well, my information is probably the same as what everybody else, all of your listeners, is hearing from on the nightly newscast, et cetera. I do hear from our specialty organizations, and it's pretty much the same, that there are a number of vaccine trials underway. There is a lot of optimism that we will have a vaccine that can be given to the public sometime in the early part of 2021. The preliminary tests for the U.S. and U.K. derived tests or vaccines seem to be very promising, the early results, meaning safe and apparently effective, at least in producing a good antibody response. But how safe they will be in the long run and how effective they will be really requires large-scale testing, and the results of which we'll see in several months. It's so hard to know what to make of the story from Russia and from China. There's not the degree of transparency to allow for a true scientific peer review of those testing initiatives. So it's so hard to know, and I think we're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
Well, Vladimir says his daughter was a guinea pig, and she's doing fine. So it's just, it is. It's a bizarre thing. It's Dr. Steppe Mette with UAMS. As a parent, going back to school, looking at things, getting together in a group, what are some of the best practices for staying safe? What advice can you give us there?
I think it comes down to the same three or four things, and I know it feels like a broken record, but these are really the strategies that have proven to be effective, and those are wearing a mask at all times when you're around somebody, social distancing or physical distancing, staying more than 6 feet away from somebody, especially when you're inside, washing your hands frequently, and don't congregate in large crowds. Stay outside as much as you can. Yeah.
Hard to do when you're going back to school in a large crowd, but hey.
Certainly gets challenging.
It does. And that that could be the theme for 2020. It's challenging. We'll just go with that. Dr. Steppe Mette, UAMS, good to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.